Hey guys, it's April from Sew Darn Cute Quilting. I wanted to do a brief video on basting again. I've done a video before, but I had already basted the quilt and then I went kind of over what I had done. So in this video, I'd like to go over how I'm basting it while I'm actually basting it. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've put the backing on with my red snappers. I have put my batting on, which this batting is a 80/20 from Hobbs, and then we have the top right here. I have gone ahead and started doing a basting stitch that is a 3/4 inch stitch. So from this point to that point is 3¼ of an inch. So almost an inch in spacing between each of the basting stitches. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch in, so when I look through the hole in my foot, I can see the tip of the fabric. And what I'm going to be doing as I'm basting is I'm going to be pulling over here to make sure that this stays flat while I go. So let's go ahead and get started, and it's in base mode. I have a gamel. I have a 22-inch gamel, and it has the iPad attachment to adjust the settings on it. So here we go. And now I can notice that my basting is getting a little bit off. This I can see some of the batting through my foot. So I just want to kind of pull it up a little bit and make sure it goes across straight. And then I'll stop every once in a while and just kind of straighten everything out. This is really important because this is the beginning of your quilt. This is what makes sure that it's on the frame straight. This is what kind of keeps everything going in the direction that you want it to go in, which is to have a straight quilt. This also will help in the long run when squaring up. And I don't just baste the very top of my quilt, I baste the whole entire quilt. I'm going to show you what I mean by that here in just a second. And when I'm pulling on the fabric, I don't want to like really pull on it real hard so that it goes out of shape that it's in. I just want it to get flat. And I do a stitch all the way out to the edge, and then I'm going to come back because I'm going to go not only horizontal on my stitches, but I'm also going to go vertical. So I'm going to come back one stitch, and I'm going to bring this foot all the way down here until it stops. I'm going to go across, and I'm going to straighten out, kind of like shake my quilt and make sure that it's straight. And that's just the quilt top. So just shaking it out, kind of making sure that everything is straight. Now sometimes on quilts, the sides or the top are not exactly straight. And that's okay, just kind of try and keep everything straight enough, you know. So now we're going to go ahead and go to the left, and I'm going to baste all the way across. When I do this, I have less tucks in the back, and it holds the quilt together nice, so that whenever I'm rolling the quilt, that it all stays together. And when you do this back and forth, you come down and go across the other direction that you previously went. This kind of helps keep everything even. So I am not going to go up, but I'm going to go ahead and roll the quilt, and I'm going to come down. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. I'm going to roll the quilt and come down. My quilt frame and my machine is currently not locked. I don't have a horizontal or vertical lock on. If I did and I went to go roll it, it would tear the quilt. So you want to make sure that you have that off whenever you're doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and straighten everything out, and I'm going to come back and come down. And any place that I feel I need to pull or straighten out, I want to go ahead and do that. So here we go. And we're going to go across. And I'm going to pull on the outside of the quilt on the side to hold it taut while I go across. Now, the other thing is sometimes doing this basting will leave little holes in the quilt top and the back. You can lightly moisten it, like with this spritz. If you're worried about a bleed, then you can just take a Q-tip and just moisten the tip of the Q-tip and do that, just dab it onto where the hole is at. So let's take a look at the quilt as I roll it up. See, it's all wavy like this, and I wanna go ahead and straighten that out. So I'm gonna pull on the bottom of it to get it all straight. See, here I've got a little bit of a wrinkle. I'm gonna pull it until it's all nice and neat. It's kind of like floating your top, but not really. You know, you have a little bit more control over it this way than you would if you floated your top. Some people have the clamps that go on the bar right here, and they clamp as they go. Another reason why I like to do this is because I like to keep it off the floor. I don't like to have the batting or the top hanging onto the floor. So the way that my frame system is set up, I'm able to do that. So when it comes down here, the quilt will be down there, or it will be up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going, and here we go. So, and I also want to pull my backing to make sure that I don't have any tucks or wrinkles in the backing while I'm doing this, because this is trying to make sure that the backing is nice and tight. And I do that on the bar that's back here. I'll just pull my hands across it like that, and that will help. Okay. So there we go, and we're going to go across. Now this quilt is supposed to be for a young woman, so I'm going to use Glide for the thread. Right now for the basting stitch I'm not using Glide, but I am going to use Glide. Has a little bit of a sheen to it, and I think it's going to look a lot better for a younger woman. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but this quilter has left me, the piecer, the person that pieced this, has left me these huge borders. So I'm going to be able to have a ton of fun in those borders. I'm thinking feathers, of course, a little bit of cross hatching, and some swirls, because that's always fun. It's kind of what I've been told is my style, but I think it all looks so well together. Okay. Coming across some wrinkles, I'm going to go ahead and pull it a little bit. Once you get down to the bottom, it gets a little bit tougher to keep everything together. And let me tell you, if you don't do this and you go ahead and you quilt the whole top of your quilt and then you come down to the bottom, you're going to have problems with wavy borders. You're going to have problems with excess fabric, because when you quilt to quilt, it scrunches everything up. And when you get down to the bottom and you haven't quilted that, that part is going to be full and it's going to come out. So you're going to have to find a way to tuck in those that excess fabric somehow. This technique kind of keeps me from having to do that. So I'm pretty much done. I just have a little bit left. Okay, so I just have a little bit left right here to do. And then whenever it gets down to the bottom, sometimes I'll go back and forth, up and down, like in a zigzag motion. But I try not to do it too far up into the fabric so that it's not pulling on. When I'm trying to quilt later on, it's not in the way. Okay. And this one I'm just barely getting the end of that. Just so that whenever I wind it up back and forth on the frame, it doesn't flap around. And you might think, oh gosh, this is a lot of work to do. But I tell you what, if you get a tuck and you've quilted your whole quilt and then you have to unquilt the part where the tuck is at, oh, it's terrible. Terrible. And it takes forever. So this always ensures, you know, it doesn't completely ensure, but it helps to keep the tucks from happening. The other thing I do is I use the clamps on the side, and those are great. Okay, so that is that. We're done. And then that was be it. And then I would just, you know, start wherever I'd want to start. I'll probably stitch in the ditch around those circles at first, and then move on from there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these borders, so I'll probably do those last. The other thing I wanted to show you is today I was working on like a play around kind of piece, and this is it. You can see it. Here, I'm going to lay it out, and I'm going to move my phone over so you can see it better. Okay. Here we go. So, I was playing around with different size cross hatching, some different feather, and some different fillers. We got pebbles, and these are little teeny tiny circles, pebbles and swirls, some straight lines, stippling, swirls, and some straight lines. I also tried to try some couching, but I can't quite figure that out. So I'll have to try that again later. Anyways, you guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and I have a blog at So Darn Cute Quilting. You can find me at all of those and also on Pinterest. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.